If you want to buy your first rental property, but you have no clue where to get the money for it, then this video is for you because I'm going to break down every single creative option you can use as a beginner to buy your first rental property. We're going to cover options that allow you to buy houses with less money and options that allow you to get qualified with easier restrictions. Let's get the first one and the very not creative one out of the way, saving more money. This is what most people think is like actually the only option when it comes to buying a rental property. Is just wait and save more. After I bought my first rental property, I started doing the math on how long it would take for me to get my next one. And even if I was saving $1,000 a month, it would take me 5 years to save up for my second property. So I said F that. The truth is, if you save more money, you'll actually have an easier time getting qualified for any loan. Most conventional lenders will look for up to 6 months of the mortgage, taxes, and insurance on the property to make sure that you can actually pay it just in case if something goes wrong. And so having that money will help you qualify. Saving and waiting should be your last resort, and only if you have no other option. The second thing you can do is buy in a cheaper location or city. When I started out, I was living in New York City. Every property was $600K or more just for a little box. In order for me to buy an investment property, I would have needed 20% down, which is literally insane because that's $150K for a down payment. Who's got that at 26? At that rate, it would have taken me 15 years just to buy another property. But if I started to look elsewhere like Akron, Ohio or Scranton, Pennsylvania, then guess what? The average home price there, I could get like at 100K, which means I would only have to put 20% down on 100K, which is only 20K. That means I would take my time from savings from 15 years all the way down to 2 years. Not only that, but if I wasn't making enough money at the time to qualify for a $600,000 property, guess what? I probably was making enough money to qualify for a $100,000 or $200,000 property. All you gotta do is ask a lender how much you can actually qualify for, and then you can go back and pick a city based on that. And even if you feel like you don't want to invest too far away, what you can do is you can look at all of the towns within 2 to 4 hour drive of where you live and be able to drive there just so you can feel like you don't have to get on a plane to get to your property. That's actually what I did when I started. I invested in Ewing, New Jersey, which I had to take a bike for 20 minutes, then a train for like an hour and a half, and then an Uber for another 15 just to get to the properties. But it was the only place I could actually invest where I wouldn't go broke and would actually cash flow. The next thing you can do if you're struggling to get money for a down payment is to actually live in the property by either house hacking it or getting an Airbnb. See, if you buy on buying a property and planning on using it as a place to live, you get access to a bunch of different loans that you would have never had access to before. First, you can do FHA loans, which allows you to put 3.5% down. You can use a USDA loan, which allows you to get a loan for 0% down if you're outside of cities. And if you're a veteran, you could get a house with 0% down too. And even if you just want to do a conventional loan, you can get 3% down if you live in the property. But you're probably like, Antonio, I thought this was for rental properties, not for me to buy a house to live in. It is. See, a lot of these programs exist so you can get into a property to live in, but the requirement for you to get one of these loans is only to live there for 1 year. And there's nothing that says you can't rent out extra bedrooms to friends or rent out the other units. So if you buy a single family home, you'll live in one bedroom and you can rent out the other bedrooms to help cover your mortgage, taxes, and insurance. And if you buy a duplex, a triplex, or quadplex, you can live in one of the units and rent out the other ones. This can allow you to live rent-free while owning your first house. The tenants will actually be paying down the mortgage for you, so it's not like you'll have extra bills. In fact, you'll have less bills than whatever you were paying in rent before. If you don't want to do that, you can rent out a spare bedroom on Airbnb, or whenever you're gone for the weekend, you could rent out your entire place, and that could help cover some of your monthly bills. And I got another trick here for you if you're planning on buying a house to live in. This can allow you to get a house for $0. You can use a down payment assistance program. These are loans or grants that organizations give to people who are low or median income in that area. They'll give you a loan or a grant if you're buying a house to live in if you meet a couple requirements. Usually you'll need to own the house for a certain amount of years or live there for a certain amount of years, and you also need to make less than a certain amount. I'm actually doing this here in Texas, and I made a whole video breakdown on that, but all you need to do is make less than $123K a year to be able to apply for this T-Shack grant in Texas. You know, assuming that you meet all the other standards for a lender. The only drawback to this method is that you actually need to live in the house for a year, which if you really think about it is not that bad of a drawback because you're saving a crap ton of money on rent. And the other one is that your loan is going to be a little bit higher because you're putting less money down. But hey, it allows you to get into a property quicker, which allows you to start making passive income sooner. Okay, the next creative way you can get started buying a property with less money down is fixing up a property using a hard money loan. I know, as a beginner, I was scared too about using a hard money loan because all I heard about was that you need to pay them back really quick and they have really high interest rates, like 8 to 12%. Like, how in the world was I gonna pay that back? But these things are great tools if you know how to use them properly. The cool part about hard money loans is they allow you to buy properties with less down, and they'll actually give you money for the rehab. Not only that, but it's not based on your ability to pay the loan back. It's actually based on how profitable the house will actually be as an investment, either a flip or a burr. And some of these loans go as low as 7.5% if you're more experienced, but if you're a beginner, you'll probably have to put somewhere between 10 and 20% down. But if you usually tried to buy an investment property, then you would have to put 20 to 25% down. So this can cut your down payment in half, aka your time to saving in half. But how do you actually pull this off correctly? I'll give you a quick overview. You'll need to find properties that need a decent amount of work and that will have a higher ARV once they're fixed up. ARV stands for after repair value, which is just what the house is worth once it's been fixed up. If the price you're buying it for, plus the rehab cost, plus the cost that it costs you while you're holding on to the property, like the mortgage and tax and insurance, is equal to about 80% of the after repair value. And if the house will rent for 1% monthly of the price of the after repair value, then you should try to go for a house like this. Those are some high ballpark numbers, but I'm just here to give you a high overview. That could be a whole nother video on itself. Now, if you're a beginner like I was, and I was scared about doing any work to a property, you could either A, avoid this method altogether and deal with one of the other 14 I'm gonna teach you, or you can get a contractor that'll actually be experienced and someone who could help you get this work done. And that's what I'll recommend. Once you fix up the property, you then rent it out, and then you go back to the bank, and the bank is gonna give you a new loan for you on the new house value, which is the ARV. You use that loan to pay off the hard money loan that you had, and now you'll have a property that makes you cash flow, and you got it for 10% down. It took you a couple months to get there, but it's fixed up as well. The next creative way to get started is to partner with someone. Now, you've probably heard of this before, but give me a second. I'm gonna break down why partnerships can be super powerful for you, and I'll probably explain it in a new way you haven't heard of before. So when you buy a rental property, you need 5 resources: money, time, knowledge, experience, and ability to get financing. There's a whole section of the population of people who want to invest in real estate, but they don't have time because they have kids, or maybe they're running a side hustle, or maybe they're the CEO of a big business and can't really focus on this stuff, but they got money to invest. But you're here and you got time and knowledge. So you use your time and knowledge to trade with someone who doesn't have the time and knowledge, but for their money and ability to get financing. Basically, you want to ask yourself, which of the 5 resources do you have, and which of the 5 resources do you need? Find someone that has the resources you need and someone that wants the resources that you have. And there's a few ways you can set up these partnerships. First, you could be the person that does all the work, provides no money, and the other person provides all the money and does no work, and you do a 50-50 split. Second, maybe you have the money for an investment property, but you can't really get a loan, so that person co-signs with you, and when they co-sign, you give them 25% of whatever profits you make, as long as they have the house. So you get to buy a house and you get 75% of it, you do most of the work. The third way is they could just lend you the money and you pay them back over time. Like, let's say that they want their money back at an 8% interest rate. Instead of you getting a mortgage, you just get a loan with them. This is known as private lending. There's a lot of ways you can do it, but getting a partnership can help overcome a lot of your weaknesses and help you scale a lot quicker. And if you're watching this and you think, Antonio, this is unrealistic, there's no way, everyone I know is broke and none of us have any cash, then either A, go partner with as many broke friends as you possibly have until you have enough money to buy a property. You must be able to pull it together somehow. Or B, start meeting people who are not broke. Go to meetups, go to networking events, go to parties, any of these places where people might exist with money. Now, you can't just start asking them for the money. You need to build a relationship with them. And you might not meet some of the richest of people at any of these places, and that's okay. You don't need the richest of people. You need some people that are in the middle or on the bottom that are willing to work together to get to a common goal. Over time, you build a relationship with them, and then eventually maybe you invest with them. This is gonna take time. It's not an overnight thing. The next way you can fund your next rental property is by using a home equity loan. Home equity is a loan that you take out on the house that you already own. So if you own your personal house, then you can take out a loan. Or maybe if you have an investment property already, you can take a loan out on it. You basically get to use money that's sitting in the house to go ahead and buy other houses that can then make you money to help cover this loan. And to make this even more creative, you can partner up with someone else who owns a house and have them do a cash out refinance with you on that loan and be able to use that money to then go ahead and buy another property or use that for a down payment on another property. 30% or something like that of people own their house free and clear in the US, which means that there's tons of people that own their house that have tons of equity in their house that you could be using to buy more property. This is exactly what I had to do. I didn't know anyone with money. Everyone around me was broke. Everyone I knew told me that they wanted to invest, but hey, I don't got money for it right now. And I'm like, all right, whatever. But then I realized everyone with a home was just sitting on a pile of cash, and you could also be capitalizing on this too. And so I partnered with my dad, who had his mortgage paid off. I got the loan with him, and we used that to then go ahead and buy more properties. And the income from those properties helping paying off the previous mortgages. All right, the next way you can get money for a rental property is through a 401k or IRA. So if you have a job, you probably have a 401k or a Roth IRA or regular IRA. If you have a 401k, you can take up to 50% of what you have in your 401k with a max of $50,000. You can take a loan out on that and use it for a down payment on a property. You might want to look deeper into this because I haven't done this one, but from my research online, it seems like this can be qualified as a hardship withdrawal, which the IRS doesn't really like. But I know people that have done this themselves. You need to pay this loan back in 5 years, I believe. So it gives you time to start recouping capital to then be able to pay back that loan. So only get it if that loan is being covered by the rental property. Now, if you have an IRA, you can do a few cool things with that. If you have a self-directed IRA, you can use that to buy a rental property, and the proceeds of that need to go back into the IRA. If you're buying a house to live in, then you can take $10K out of your IRA, I believe your Roth IRA, and you can use that to then use it for a down payment on a house. Which, if you combine that with the house hacking or the Airbnb situation we were talking about earlier, then guess what? You have even more money to buy a rental property. That allows you to buy a house with money just sitting in your IRA. All right, the next type of financing for a rental property is known as seller financing. This is when you get a mortgage with the person who owns the house rather than like a regular bank. This gives you so much flexibility because there's no credit score minimum, no down payment minimum, no loan term minimum, no job history required. It's all based on what the house owner wants. And so it's all negotiable. I will say though, it is freaking hard to find someone that does this because they got tons of people that want these seller financing loans, but not many people want to give them out. But I have no doubt if this was your focus and you really learned how to do this, you'd be good at it. I haven't pulled one off yet. Another way you can reduce the amount of money you need is known as seller paid closing costs. So you can negotiate this in your contract when you're putting an offer on a property. The seller will come to the table with the money that you need for your closing costs, or at least part of it, which allows you to reduce the amount you need up front, so it allows you to buy a house with less money down. Now, another thing that can help you overcome a loan issue would be to put more money down. So if you have higher amounts of cash and maybe you're struggling to get approved for a house, then if you put more money down, you'll be able to get a loan a lot quicker. Let's say you're trying to buy a house and the bank says you're only approved up to 100K to buy one. But let's say you found a house that's 125K. So you'll need to put 25% down of the 100K that the bank is asking for. And then you'll need to put the difference between what the house value is and what you actually were approved for. So 125K is what you're buying, you're approved for 100K, that's 25K plus your 25K down payment already, that's 50K you'll need to come to the table. So if you had more money, you can buy more house regardless of whatever the bank would give you. Also, if you're struggling to get qualified, there's a few other things you can do. First is find ways to increase your income. Start a side hustle, drive for Uber, do some drop shipping, Amazon FBA, I don't know, whatever you want to do, whatever you enjoy doing. If you have higher income, then you'll be able to qualify for more properties. The other thing you could do is decrease your expenses. Cut out subscriptions, pay off your credit card, go rent a cheaper place, house hack, get rid of student loan debt or credit card or card debt, whatever you got. Anything that could reduce your expenses means you have more money left over to then go ahead and buy more house. The other thing you could do is use a non-recourse loan. Similar to a hard money loan, a non-recourse loan is a loan that's based on the profitability of the property, not on your ability to actually get a loan, like your W-2 job or how much income you have. And another hack that most people, I don't hear anyone talking about, is to actually just change up the type of property you're planning on buying. If you're planning on buying a quadplex and that's too pricey and you can't qualify for it, then look for triplexes. If you can't find a triplex, then a duplex. Duplex, single family home, townhome, condo, whatever you got. Our goal is to be able to qualify and get started sooner. Now, if you go from a quadplex to a single family home, sure, you might not cash flow as much, but that's okay. What's more important is that you get started sooner making passive income than waiting to get the best passive income property 3 years down the line because it took you a lot longer to save. If you take nothing out of the video, I want you to take out this. If you're looking to get started and you don't have the money in front of you right now, don't just say, I guess I can't buy a house. Instead, get creative and ask yourself how. What tools that I described in this video can you combine in order to get lending from someone or to get the money for a down payment? What sacrifices do you have to make? like subscriptions or house hacking? These are the questions that would start getting you to ask yourself, because these are the things that are going to get you thinking and getting you started sooner. Now, if you want a complete breakdown of every dollar that I make from my rental property, I'm gonna leave a video on screen for you to click that and see every cent I make from all 5 of my rental properties. I'll see you over there.